As I've gotten older, I've become fond of traveling to new places and meeting new people, experiencing new different cultures, even here in the United States. But unfortunately, have not been able to travel to anywhere else. But ever since I was in high school, there was one country that I've always wanted to travel to, and that is the country of Japan. Japan is a country that has its roots dating back to AD 300 and is rich in its own culture and communication. It has always fascinated me how other countries speak and communicate with one another, both verbally and non-verbally, and the importance of their own language and culture. I have always understood the importance of learning other customs, cultures, and how to effectively communicate with them. So the question is, how do the Japanese people communicate within their own society? With that, the central idea, it is important to understand the Japanese culture and communication and the importance to the Japanese people. Today in my speech, I will be talking about the use of nonverbal communication and the role of silence in communicating with the Japanese people. First, I will talk about the importance of nonverbal communication to the Japanese people. The Japanese people, which are a high context culture, often rely on nonverbal cues more than they do that of verbal. Emotions and eye contact, they're important with any culture as they are with Japan. Indirect eye contact is often viewed as more pleasant than direct eye contact with the Japanese people. With direct eye contact, it often being viewed as intimidating or aggressive. In Alan Goldman's book on doing business with the Japanese from Albany State University, he states the control of emotions is hardly considered concealment on the Japanese side of the Pacific. The Japanese have a tendency to not display these emotions as they find it disrespectful, and they usually use this to help save and preserve face. Second point is the use of informal communications to not directly involve the primary subject through body language to settle issues. It is important to the Japanese culture to silently bridge or adjust conflict with use of immediate and close proximity to one another. For example, how this will play out is going to a restaurant after work and sitting knee to knee to each other without communicating, having an intimate distance to one another, allowing what was needed to be resolved in a peaceful manner. Second, I will talk about the importance of silence in communication to the Japanese people. Silence has always been viewed as an effective way to communicate for the Japanese people. In Alan Goldman's book, he states, the silence oftentimes carries more weight than needless talk. Silence is viewed as an effective way to save time, and that the fact is that not everything has to be said and should be understood in nonverbal cues. With that, with normal verbal communication, hesitation, a form of silence, is also used while speaking. While in the US, it might be a sign that somebody's trying to hide something from you, in Japan, it's used as a time to collect one's thoughts and choose the correct thing to say. With silence being viewed as an effective way to communicate, verbal communication is often viewed as negative. From Nakifuki's article on the role of influences in Japanese communication from Kaneda University, it is stated not to say is better than to say. With the Japanese people, it is often important to keep some things to yourself, and often saying something is a negative aspect to your character. In that same article, there was a study done of Japanese proverbs, 504 proverbs on the value of language were used. 25% of them conveyed a positive attitude toward communication, with 63% of them viewing communication as negative, with another 12% viewed as neutral, showing that the Japanese culture itself views speech in a negative aspect. In my speech, I spoke about the importance of understanding Japanese culture and communication and the importance to the Japanese people. With all this information and understanding that was learned about nonverbal and the role of silence in communication, will this help us improve communication with the Japanese people? My answer to this question is yes. I believe that will help with intercultural communication and help it gather an understanding of the Japanese people and their culture. Thank you.